Hey, folks. Okay, so the first week of the new me, the shift in how I build, create, and share, it's in the books. And it was a bit of a rocky start, but I would call it a success. We pick a theme at the beginning of every week with a goal attached to it and try to accomplish that goal by the end of the week and share along the way. Now, this week I didn't get to share as much, but part of that was in the design of the theme. And the theme was, and the goal was essentially to put this mechanism in place so that what I can do moving forward is do my work in isolation, do the building and the creating, and then as ideas pop up there, I can then I want to share it, but I don't want to spend hours and hours and hours creating videos. What I really love to do is like this: sit in front of the camera for 10 to 20 minutes, let's say, and share some idea or some result, and then within the span of a full hour, I want to go from nothing to having things published. And that's really hard to do when you don't have something to help you with that process. I mean, I've been producing videos for a long time, and even just recording for 20 minutes and trying to put that out with minimal edits, and then promoting it, and maybe writing some sort of variation on that in text form. We're talking about 2 to 4 hours of work, and so I want to cut that in half or in quarters or whatever. I want it to be a fraction because a lot of these things are repeatable. And I had a theory going into this that I feel like there's enough there's been enough advancement in tooling that I shouldn't have to do it. And I am going to show you what I've got set up because it's working. And this is kind of a meta video because this is only really the second time I'm recording this week. And I'm going to actually get to say like, okay, from the beginning to the end, boom, let's go do this thing. So what I did was I decided to try Claude Cowork. I had been seeing a lot about it and reading a lot about it, but I had been skeptical. I'd been like, well, it's not Claude Code, so it's not for me. Uh, Turns out it doesn't matter. No, it's not designed necessarily for developers, but it's kind of designed to be this great co-pilot. And so what I did was earlier this week, Tuesday or Wednesday, I recorded a video just on a couple other experiments I had done with Claude Cowork and my first few days in tinkering. And I wanted to use that as the basis to kind of get this process started. And so what I've done, and I don't have a long history here because it cuts it off. And this happened over the course of a couple of days. But basically, I worked through this process and I said, here's everything I want to accomplish. And it was essentially like, I'm going to give you a video, and then I want you to help me create all of the artifacts from that video. And and I was like, okay, so this is what we want to do. Let's take it one step at a time, work through it, remember what we do, and then at the end, we're going to turn it into some sort of scheduled tests. And it was honestly kind of amazing. And I know there's going to be a lot of efficiencies that I can improve upon and identify as I use this. But even right away, it's this first one that wasn't even set up, just working through it was great. Now, it took longer than an hour. So next week, the test is really going to be okay, you're recording for 15, 20 minutes every day. Are you actually able to be done with that process in an hour? So here's how it worked when I did it manually, and then we'll see as it automates a little bit more um, what happened. So essentially, I have a project folder here, um, and what I can do then is I just drop in a I record a video, and when I'm talking about minimal edits, I'm saying, okay, I'm treating these videos essentially like they're live. But if I'm trying to do something with code, or there's a lot of waiting around, or I hit a bug or whatever, I'll just mark that timestamp, and then we'll kill that chunk. But I'm not going in and, as you can tell, removing all the ums and ahs and all of that. It's live adjacent. Basically, I get to clean up the egregious errors and otherwise just kind of keep rolling with it. So if I record for 20 minutes, I ought to have an exported video in 30 minutes. And then I take that, I drop it into a folder, and we say go. Okay, so the first thing that it did was, let me pull this up here. So I made this, you have to point Cowork to a directory. So I have this directory here, and so I have this inbox. So I drop the MP4 file in this inbox, and then it creates this directory for me. And then the first thing that it does is it uses OpenAI's Whisper locally, and it generates this transcript. And I've done this with some other audio recordings recently, and it's taken a long time. I mean, for a 20-minute video, this took not long at all, maybe a minute, something like that. And so we have this. And so then I said, all right, we've got the transcript. Now you know what this is about, right? Because that's the much easier way for the model or the agent to understand what we're actually talking about here. So cool. Now it's got the context. I say, propose to me a title and description for the video, and then create a thumbnail image and upload the video to YouTube. And that took a little bit of maneuvering, but it was in theory a one-time thing. So we agreed on the title and the description back and forth in chat. And then it uses this, I think it was a Python library that I set up a Google console project and gave it a YouTube API access. So then it handled the upload. It handled the whole thing. It handled the upload. In fact, what it can do is really cool. So it can take over the browser. So what I did was I created this new profile that I just called Claude Cowork, and this is the only Chrome profile where I have installed the Claude extension. And so this is where it can work. And that gives me the ability to kind of mix and match which accounts are signed in at any given time. And so it's not like, okay, you're only in the work context or you're only in the personal context or whatever. So it's mixing and matching, and it's getting out of my way too. Because the way it works is it spins up these tab groups, and then it can actually browse the web and it can interact with JavaScript, and it's amazing. And so I was like, hey, I've got this file where in Figma where I create all my video thumbnails. Just copy one and try to make it look great. Now, this is not what it looked like. I saw the thumbnail created and it was kind of nasty, but also it's like, 90% of the way there when I get it, and I can just boom, boom, great. And then I replaced it in YouTube and it was good to go. And it uploaded the thing. It suggested that title. I cleaned up the description quite a bit. It did all the tagging in there, and we had a live video. And then I was like, there's the video is where I want to focus, but if there's an argument to be made in there, if there's a story to tell, which there's usually going to be, then let's create a blog post as well. And so but the other interesting thing is the blog post might have, even though the blog post is being generated from the transcript, it might just feel like there's a different story that should be told or extracted from it that isn't necessarily what you would take on the surface of the video. And because this is me talking for 10, 15, 20 minutes, I can go in a lot of different directions in that amount of time. And so I kind of directed it in one way, and it created a draft of a blog post, and it did this in my repository. So it wrote this post here that it named the same as the video at first. And I was like, well, first of all, I don't really want to do that. It feels like SEO still means something, and why don't we see if we can be more complimentary? But also the way that it wrote this first post was like, yes, okay, that is what I covered in the video, but it was also a couple different topics. And I feel like blog posts are nice when you just kind of have like one argument you're making or one story that you're telling. And I felt there were two in there. And so then I went back and when I into the chat and I was like, here, I actually think there's two stories in here, and here's what I think they are. And then I kind of fall into my normal flow. So I've already largely automated how agents can help me write blog posts so that it's in my voice, and it's almost always um, it's 3 cycles of review. I get the original draft from an audio transcript, and then I record another audio transcript with me as editor, and then I do some just like quick hand edits, and we're good to go. So this one added a fourth one because we took the original draft and split it into two. Then I did the audio editing, and then I did a little bit of cleanup that we can see at the bottom there. And ultimately, we ended up with 2 blog posts. I merged those, and now I have this post that is an updated mental model for choosing the right AI tool, where I kind of talk about how I'm thinking about entry points with AI. And I've got this other one, which is my first experiment with Claude Cowork, which was really kind of like that was the demo that I had put in that first video. So those assets they're deployed, and I really just act as editor and approver of these things after it's recorded, and it just feels so good. It feels so good. It feels like I'm putting my time toward it feels like I'm putting my time toward the things that require human judgment and creativity, and I'm delegating more of the repetitive type of executional implementation tasks to Cowork, and that feels good. So then I'm like, great, but people have to know about this, so let's build some promotional materials as well. And I've only found the one hiccup where I'm going to have to jump in a little bit manually beyond editing and giving direction is it seemed like there is a challenge for Cowork to upload the video just with the way it interacts with Twitter, and Twitter is Twitter. So rather that it just be the posts perform better when you embed the videos directly. So I had to do this one manually, even though I got the suggestion for what the tweet content should be. And then it was able we actually worked back and forth a few times. Now, one of the things this unlocked is I haven't been on Blue Sky in a long, long time. And combined with another Cowork task and project that I've been tinkering with this week, it's got me back on Blue Sky without really spending a ton more time. It's like not, it doesn't feel like, oh, now I'm back on Blue Sky, so I got to ditch Twitter. I feel like I'm starting to find a balance where I'm actually spending less time in total and having more impact on both places. But let's, cart before the horse there. Like let's see how that plays out. But what I found was that what Cowork wants to do is it wants to use just I okay, so I don't know under the hood, but my suspicion is it's reading the DOM and then it's trying to do things as efficiently and programmatically as it can, right? So if it finds through the DOM the the way that it can submit new posts, then it's going to try to do that directly rather than interacting with the page. But the Blue Sky UI has this feature where you can paste, when you paste a URL, you get this attachment preview and then you can delete that URL. It doesn't work if you're just posting directly, or I just need to know more. But whatever, I was like, hey, you got to use JavaScript. So we ended up like deleting and recreating a few different times before it actually worked, but eventually it worked. I'm going to tell you about a really cool Blue Sky thing here in a minute too. And then the other thing, I don't use LinkedIn. I mean, I read occasionally on LinkedIn. I'm horrible. I might check like once every 3 weeks or something like that. Horrible at LinkedIn. Horrible. And look, now I've got this outlet for creating LinkedIn posts, and I don't have to go on LinkedIn. It's amazing. It's amazing. So that worked, and that was great. But now I've got these 2 other blog posts, and it's like, yeah, I don't really want 3 promotional messages on each of these platforms in the same day. So what if we trickle this out and then we can kind of stretch these things out. So it's like, okay, so go and schedule these things. And so basically what happened was I asked for this markdown file with all of the drafts of what it will eventually, what it will either post or schedule. I then open this up in VS Code and edit it and then say, okay, ready, good to go. And we're working on this format a little bit. I think this will change quite a bit because it's like they were decent suggestions, but I made quite a few edits to that. And then it schedules. Now, if you've used these platforms, you know that Twitter has a scheduling feature built in and LinkedIn has a scheduling feature built in. So it handled those, or it used those, and it got those scheduled right away. Blue Sky does not. And here's another case where Cowork comes in super handy because what it ended up doing was it was like, okay, I need to schedule these things, right? I need to schedule them, but Blue Sky doesn't have that mechanism for scheduling, so I'm going to use my own internal mechanism to do this. And so back here, um, it then created these scheduled tasks that were just like one-time tasks that were going to run at a very specific time. And we can see the Blue Sky one already ran earlier today, and this is it. And so now this one is sharing the first blog post, and then the other one is going to come out Monday morning. So it's a long-winded look at all of this, but this is how I've pieced it together, and it feels good. It feels like we're on. I'm onto something. I'm cutting out a lot of those repetitive tests, and I'm really excited for what this means. And next week, I still have to decide on what the theme and the goal is going to be. But as it relates to this, next week is really going to be the test. Okay, can I spend an hour a day? Can I max out at 4 to 5 hours throughout a week and come away with 4 to 5 unique assets, both in video and written form? To be determined. I think a lot of that is going to depend on what is the actual theme and goals and all of that. But I'm excited. I feel really good about this first week, even though we're only at uh, recording on 2 days. The goal is accomplished. We're moving forward. Uh, Maybe this is the new me. But that's it for now. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time.